Awesome. Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman. We have a very special guest, Mikey February. Mikey, welcome to the Outer Banks.
Thank you.
Welcome to Real. We're stoked to have you staying with us at Waterman's Retreat. How was your stay last night?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was pretty late when we arrived, but this morning it was beautiful. Got to see, beautiful views. Glad to be here. Yeah.
Awesome, man. The entire Outer Banks is stoked to have you here. Big Spearfish premiere tonight, the movie about the development of your new model with Channel Islands. Yeah, man, everybody's fired up to see you at the premiere, maybe see you surf locally as well. And also here on this video, we're going to talk about the board and a little bit of the development. You have a big career in surfing, a big background in surfing, and there was a huge turning point in your career when you went from being on the world tour to putting that chapter behind you and then kind of opening up what you were going to do with your surfing and the boards that you were going to ride. And my first question is, where did that background come from? Like that you could literally look at anything and ride it well, including even like that J-Bay clip. You're riding half of a board better than most people are riding a complete board.
I think that started when I was a little bit younger. The shaper that I rode for, he made a lot of fishes, and that was kind of what he did most of the time. And a lot of my younger surf career, I spent getting boards from him. And I think on like my 12th birthday, he gave me like a 5-0 fish that he shaped me.
Okay.
And that was the first time I kind of rode something different. I mean, I did start on like a knee board that my dad had back in the day, but that was in the real beginning. But yeah, I guess, the first time I kind of got to ride a fish was, kind of opened my mind a lot and just a different feeling. And I guess since then it's been, obviously competing, you're kind of real focused on short boards and trying to just, fine tune them constantly throughout, every day. But I got to, every now and again, I'll kind of jump on something else or try someone's board, and I don't know, just kind of obsessed with getting to feel something different, because I guess that's the cool thing about surfing. And then I guess after kind of ending the whole competing tour sort of side of my career, I was kind of excited because it kind of just opened up this sort of space where you could have a lot more freedom and ride those boards and actually have time to work on those boards. Because I mean, you think about how much people refine and work on short boards, I guess maybe not as many people, more so now, they actually put the effort and time into getting lots of different, say it's a fish, kind of, working on that, refining it, and actually really diving deep into it. And I think that's made a big difference, because once you dive into it and you really analyze it and work on it, tweak it, you really do get the best out of these surfboards. And I think I've been fortunate to be able to do that with Channel Islands, and we've been creating some fun boards.
That's a good point that you make, because I know at the pro level, when you're competing at the top of the elite, you're getting 15 boards at a time and weeding through them and picking the best one, and then doing another 15 and weeding through those and picking the best one, where people aren't necessarily doing that on the rest of the range,
No, exactly. Some people ride a twin fin and they'll be like, okay, that's the way all twin fins go, But when you actually dive into it and there's so many different, especially nowadays, there's so many different ones. So you actually get to notice the differences and realize that, fins make a difference. The type of twin fin it is makes a difference, and it's a fun hole to go down.
So you left the standard thruster, or at least part-time left the standard thruster, and you kind of went to riding everything. What do you enjoy about the ability to ride everything and the choice of riding everything and matching it to the waves that you travel to?
Yeah, exactly. I think, when you get to travel, it's, a lot of the time there's places that you go to that but then there's also new places that you don't really, I guess haven't surfed before, don't know what it's like. But my Quiver now has changed a lot to where it's, instead of going from a groveler to a step up shortboard, it's now maybe one twin fin, two thrusters, two twin fins, maybe a single fin or a bonzo or something like that. And when you go to a place, you get to kind of, I don't know, everything, just kind of go there and get to see how the boards are feeling in those conditions or that type of place. And there's going to be one that obviously stands out, but you have a lot more of a diverse bunch of boards to be able to work with. And I think that's really nice. And even waves that or you've had fun riding a thruster on, it opens up a new experience at that wave. And that for me is yeah, probably one of the most important parts of it is being able to experience that and just have freedom to have different types of surfs and yeah, explore a little bit.
Now, what about now? If you kind of fuse all of that experience together, you were just in the Maldives, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the media, like the Four Seasons
Yeah.
Maldives event, where all you guys get to have private sultans, which is
Yeah.
a dream.
Yeah.
And that's like riding all your boards, right? So you're riding, like, I think you rode this board, right, in the twin fin?
Yeah, yeah.
In the twin fin comp, you rode this board. You rode a single fin CI mid, and then you rode a 2 happy in the thruster division.
Exactly. Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, having someone tell you to ride different boards is also a nice thing, especially for those other guys who don't really ride them that much. It was really cool to see their approach, and then also, everyone had their strengths and weaknesses. I know for me it was probably the most difficult was probably riding a thruster, but it was a cool challenge, and someone told you, the ways of pumping, go ride a thruster all day. So you kind of okay, go for it, and you get that opportunity, which is really nice. But yeah, it's just fun because every day, I mean, even the first day we're riding the single fin, and that was a single fin mid without the, side bites or whatever. And it's a lot harder to obviously, especially when you're in competition format, because you just want everything to happen really quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think with a single fin, you have to learn to kind of have more patience and be able to just draw everything out a bit more. But that, in a way, helped the next day when you rode the thruster, because, you had, all of a sudden, you had so much confidence because you're on a thruster and you have, all the confidence in the world. So I think in that sense, I think riding different boards definitely allows you to understand other boards a lot better.
Okay.
Whether it's riding a longer single fin with a longer rail line or something, and then jumping on something that's shorter, then you know how to use the rail a bit better. And I think all of it's complementary, really, yeah.
And you ended up winning, right, the thruster?
Yeah, the thruster, that one that I definitely didn't think I was going to.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I had a question, what with your diverse background, in all the different boards you like, and then also the offering that CI has in shortboards, right? They have a bunch of different models. Why did you gravitate towards the 2 happy?
Yeah, I think, obviously diving deep into all the other boards, I still ride thrusters often, especially at home, because I enjoy it. I enjoy that feeling. But for a long time, the 2 happy has kind of been my one of choice. I enjoy, the rocker on that one. It's just nice and mellow, not too as aggressive as a CI Pro or something, and not too flat as a black and a white. But it's just, for me, it just feels like an easy transition when you're riding other boards and jumping onto that. And yeah, so it's just kind of been my little happy place on the thruster side of things. Yeah.
Cool. No, I think that helps out a lot. Let's dive into the fish, right? The Feb's fish,
sure. Yeah.
New from CI. First, we want to start out with the misconception of a fish.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people out there think that the fish was developed as now that a groveler is a popular category of boards.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there still to this day, you say fish and you say twin fin, and they immediately think groveler.
Yeah.
What is fish and this style of board? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, originally for me, that was what a fish the idea of a fish was. It was kind of just this really small, one of the shorter boards that you'd ever ride, really flat, and could just kind of be a lot more skatey because it was, flat and it didn't have much curve on it. So when the waves were kind of flatter, it was easier to ride. It wasn't necessarily something that you rode when it's, got a bit of steepness to it, and you didn't really get critical, but you could draw these cool, really enjoyable lines. But yeah, I guess ever since, I feel like for a lot of people, their introduction to maybe twin fins, maybe not now because there's so many different ones, but for me, I know it was just the basic fish, and then the rest kind of felt like an evolution of that. And I think that's kind of where I've been for the last few years. We got to develop the twin fin, which was really progressive version of a twin fin, and something that was really good and fun to really good waves. And I think obviously that was my first model with CI, and I was really excited about that, and kind of been riding it ever since for many years, and really connect with it. But then I guess looking around, there's so many new versions of twins that are around in the market and everywhere. I've kind of when you thinking about making a new model, you just get, you know, kind of like lost in this whole world of twin fins. And it was it kind of happened naturally. I was in the CI factory one day, and there was one of these old fishes that was, I don't know whose, I think it was for Tanagadaskis or something. It was in the factory, and one day I ended up just asking if I could, you know, take it out and try it. And yeah, I got to really kind of connected with it in the beginning. But it was a real, I don't know if it was a hand shape or what it was, but it had a lot going on. It was epoxy that had fins that were fixed fins that were moved. You could see the original fin placement, and they were moved, and they were specially shaped or whatever. So it was like a hard base to work with, but I think it just reminded me that it was kind of good to sort of go back to basics and, you know, go to like, I guess, you know, the origins of like a twin fin where a fish would be, and then kind of use that as a base and work from there to create something that was just kind of like revive it a little bit, really.
Was that board, like going back to that starting point, was that board more like original issue? Was it more like beak, nose, and like pretty thick rails and very straight in the outline?
A little bit. It had like, you know, some characteristics of, you know, this fish. It was epoxy. It had a little bit of a beak nose, really flat deck. The rails were a lot chunkier than this. I think the tail had been pulled in a little bit, so it had a little bit of a different feel to like just a, you know, traditional fish from back in the day. But so I think that kind of, that original session or whatever kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and kind of, yeah, it was cool. It was kind of, it's nice to know that in a world of like a lot of progression and everything, it's cool to go back. And, you know, I guess what we did with this fish, being able to, you know, tweak it in ways to allow it to kind of just open up a whole new bunch of ways of riding a fish, I guess.
What was it that you liked about that first one that you tried, right? Because there's always like that board you go back to, and then you're like, man, I really like this and this, but I wish I could change this and this. Like, what were the things that you liked about that board?
It was, for a fish, it was really lively. I mean, it was epoxy, so it had a lot of like life in it, and like really like responsive, and kind of had the characteristics where you could kind of turn it a little bit tighter in the pocket and kind of approach steeper sections, which was quite exciting for a fish. And yeah, I hadn't ridden a shorter board like that in a long time. And it's also, as a taller person, to connect with something that's, I find shorter boards are harder to work with, because the, you know, the sort of speed generation, everything is like, you know, so much like below you, you know, and then when you're taller, you kind of want something that's maybe longer or whatever. But with these boards, I felt like it had a good balance of like looseness and drive to be able to work with. Yeah.
What did, like, when you rode that first board, like what? Because I think a lot of the viewers like have experienced like a classic fish, you know, something like that. You know, like what is it that you wanted to change about that board from like a performance or feel standpoint? Like what were you looking to develop?
Well, I guess just, you know, obviously with a fish, you know, you can ride over these crazy flat sections and just kind of glide across. And then I had feelings of it with that original one, was like, you know, you could kind of like approach like a nice steep section and be able to kind of, you know, like kind of attack it at like in a nice way. And I guess with this one, the goal was to sort of be able to have all those loose and glidey sort of characteristics, but then also kind of have a lot of drive, and then be able to kind of be able to turn in like critical parts of the wave. Okay. And, you know, when it's steep, and we're, you know, on a short board or any other board, but be able to kind of have that, but then be able to come out of it with a lot of speed, and be able to still like kind of, you know, not ride it like further out on the wave, but actually be in that
the
like pocket. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, looking at this thing, like first impression out of the box, you know, straight on, like from the camera angle, it can look like a classic fish. You're like, oh, it's another classic fish, right?
Yeah.
But when you actually have it in your hands, you notice like there is no beak in the nose. There's more rocker up front. The nose is a little bit narrower than like a regular fish would be. The rails are more foiled. The tail's more pulled in. So there's a lot of tweaks like that are kind of going in that direction that you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of easy to understand when you say it like that, because it's exactly what it is. You know, they have more rock in the nose, be able to, you know, kind of approach like steeper sections nicely, and then I guess that like more pulled in tail allows you to kind of have a sort of tighter turn radius, but then also sort of have that drive at the same time instead of just like, you know, kind of sliding out or skating out kind of thing. And then obviously that like double and then V through the tail kind of adds a lot of, yeah, it's good.
Like when you're talking about fish and you're talking people that have surfed fish and know about fish, there's always, the conversation always kind of goes to backside.
Yeah.
Surfing, and they're always like, oh man, I love it frontside, but like backside, like there's some hang-ups, you know, like I don't like this or that. And you're surfing backside on this thing is insane.
Thanks.
Like, was there something that you guys did like in the development, like to specifically address that, whether it's the board or the fins or?
No, I mean, it's not something you think about when, I mean, I don't really think about when I'm, you know, working on a surfboard. It's like, will it go backside? But I don't know, I guess naturally it all kind of happened, and you know, when ended up at lefts and stuff, the board went really well. And I think, I don't know, I feel like on your backside with a very small board, sometimes you tend to kind of lean a little bit more forward when you on your backside when you're doing turns or coming out of them. And I think, like, you know, I think that sort of rock of the nose helps a little bit to kind of keep the nose up. But I've had, you know, just as fun a sessions on my backside than front side on this fish. Yeah, it's been really fun. Yeah.
And what's your height and weight?
I'm about 6'1", 6'2", and then I'd say 78 to 80 kgs. I don't know what that is in pounds. Yeah.
Jeffrey will do the conversion.
Yeah,
he'll have like a video calculator.
Yeah, you could have.
He'll just punch it up and
pop up,
and then he'll shoot a number up in the top right hand corner.
Perfect. Yeah.
And what size fish you're on?
I think it's this one. Yeah, 5'5".
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 30.5 liters, and which is like maybe 1 liter more volume than like my normal shortboard. But it's fun. Yeah.
And what range of waves are you using that thing in? Like kind of smallest to biggest, like where you're getting, like where it feels good, not like where you're pushing it, but like where that thing really goes.
I'd say from like as small as you can get to about, for me personally, I don't know, like 6 feet, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's 6 foot what? That's 6 foot on the face? That's 6 foot South African, 6 foot Hawaiian? Like what kind of 6 foot? 6 foot Rincon?
Maybe like just under double overhead, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I think double overhead's kind of pushing it, but yeah.
We were opposite laps with you on some of those holiday swells.
Oh, yeah.
At Rincon last year. And we saw you on, I think it was the red and yellow one.
Yeah.
Just mocking.
Yeah, that was really fun, yeah. Oh yeah, especially point breaks. It flies. It goes real fast, but I guess with everything else and beach breaks and stuff, it works too. So it's a really fun board.
Let's talk a little bit about fins.
Yeah.
You developed a fin with Futures for this board. I've just coincidentally have 2 fins in my back pocket. You know, it's like a hip pocket thing. You know.
Yeah.
And didn't know where the conversation was going, but I thought I might as well be prepared.
Yeah.
So I've got the Futures AMK, so the Almere keel.
Yeah.
And then your new signature fin. Just doing a quick layover on the fins. You're looking at roughly the same rake.
Yeah.
But yours is like way more hollowed out on the trailing edge and a little bit less tip. Talk to us about like the development of that fin and like kind of what you were looking to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, originally we had an AM keel. The fixed fin set that was on that board was an AM keel, and it was kind of like just rounded around, like just kind of rounded a little bit more, so there was a bit less tip.
Yeah.
But still the same base and rake and everything. And then when I went to Futures, we just obviously took a whole section out here to kind of add like a little bit more sort of rake and a bit more of like a narrow tip, I guess. And for that, like, I guess it's got the same base, so you got that drive. And then here it just adds a little bit more sort of liveliness and sort of, you know, release, I guess, you know, which I'm really like stoked with because I have, you know, it's been a really fun board to kind of work on with it. I mean, I haven't really dove too deep into like fins and stuff really, but doing this now, it makes a big difference. And yeah, you can really feel that balance of drive and release in this one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first impression, like looking at the 2 fins laid on top of each other, is like how much that would loosen the board up.
Yeah.
And the release, but not sacrifice too much drive, like still have that fish drive.
Exactly.
But not be like so locked into this linear train straight.
Exactly, yeah. And that's one thing that I really, with like, especially with twin fins, it's like like drive is so important, and you want to have that because that's like, you know, obviously you only have 2 fins, and it's great to have that, and the speed is amazing, but you kind of want to be able to harness that speed and not have to, like, you know, be like tracking and just go, like, you know, not be able to turn tightly. And with this one, I guess we kind of figured out how to sort of help that. Yeah.
Right. So Mikey, we've talked about the board, we talked about fins, and then like all your background, like on all these different boards, right? So like when you're taking out the Feb's fish and you're looking at a wave like Rincon, like what line are you looking to draw on this board that's like different than you would on your thruster?
Well, I think, you know, being able to have a board like this, you're able to sort of have, you know, I guess the feeling that you have of a fish where you don't really sacrifice or lose any speed. You're just always kind of flowing, and you have that, like, you can draw long lines. Mm-hmm. But I guess on a traditional fish, you can't really, can't really surf in the pocket. And then with like a thruster, you kind of just looking to stay in that like energy pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's what you kind of need to do. As soon as you go too far out, or you like end up on a flat section, you kind of tend to lose a bit of speed. But with this one, it's cool because you can kind of like have this like spontaneous, nice feeling of like going into a flat section, but then like coming back with like a lot of speed, all further ahead, and being able to still like, you know, kind of hit it in like a real critical part of the wave. And you can play with that feeling, but then when you go out, you still have that.
You still have the planing area and the glide to come back.
So you kind of have just like all access, I guess, which is kind of nice. Yeah,
cool.
And that's the thing I really enjoy about it, because it, gives you a few different feelings.
We talked about like the groveling and like the flatter face waves, like which is like a lot of times where people like kind of think these boards are the best.
Yeah.
But we see so many people like riding them in good surf, like those days at Rincon, like where you're just owning it on it.
Yeah.
And we've got like a really strong contingent of locals that like ride fishes like when it's heavy.
Yeah.
And we ride them here. They travel with them to Skeleton Bay, and like so. I think it also has like an underground performance, like in better waves. Well, as well. Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even in, I guess when even in the barrel and stuff, I think I enjoy twin fins so much more, because obviously there's, with twin fins and stuff, any subtle little movement gives you so much speed, and that's really nice to have, because obviously in certain waves, barrels, good waves, whatever, you maybe don't have enough space to sort of drive and move your board, but to generate that speed, and on like a fish, it's just like one little movement and it kind of accelerates.
Just goes,
especially with like having that V out the back, it really does have that feeling, like, and I think that is a real bonus, I feel like. But yeah, it's just, I guess that same feeling of like being able to be out on the face and in the pocket and on flat sections helps, even when the waves are bigger, because I mean, it's not like, I don't know, when the waves are good, it's not always perfect every part of the wave, so it's nice to have that freedom.
Yeah, there are exactly right. Like even as big as that swell got, there were still flat sections.
Yeah, exactly.
In between, like connecting, like if you made that section, you were making the next part of the wave, and if not, like that's where you had to kick out or straighten out.
Yeah, and I don't know, personally, it's a little bit less effort, so it's nice to
to take it all the way through.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can just stand there and kind of cruise and wait for it, ways you're not like, but it's whatever you're feeling, really.
Yeah. Awesome, Mikey. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, sharing like all your like insight and input on the new Feb's fish from Channel Islands, and also talking with us about the new fins from Futures.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
For any of you out there that have any questions on the Channel Islands Feb's fish, or would like to order one for yourself, either stock or custom, you can always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.